Hello and welcome back to another Dare to Game video. Today we're playing Starfield and we're going to be going over what the best factions or the best faction storylines to play are. So there's a lot of different opinions on this, and I ran a poll on my channel and I agree, I think, with the outcome pretty much for the most part of that poll, so we'll be kind of just going down the list there. So we're not looking at all of the factions in the game, just the ones that have dedicated storylines at this time. So if, you know, DLCs get released or anything like that where we get like a Varun expansion or an Ecliptic Mercenary expansion or something like that, then that might change things, but at the time of recording this, there are basically 5 distinct factions in the game. There's the main faction, which you just by default become a member of with the main storyline. That's Constellation. Then you have 4 optional factions. So you've got Ryujin Industries, the UC Vanguard, the Freestar Rangers, and then there's some debate over the whole Crimson Fleet versus SysDef thing. The problem with the SysDef versus Crimson Fleet debate there is that you can't join SysDef and then not do anything with the Crimson Fleet. So they're intrinsically linked. So I really just call it the Crimson Fleet storyline because you don't do that much for SysDef, really. You spend the time being a pirate. So anyway, let's just get on into it, and I'm going to rank them from 5 to 1, 5 being my least favorite, to 1 being the one that I think is the best. And there are a number of factors: how much fun they are, how many missions, how many things you can get from them, all sorts of stuff. So let's just start it off with number 5, where I have Constellation. And so just starting with Constellation, like I said, we have the main storyline faction here. So you'll be immediately introduced to them when you're leaving the mine. Barrett is a part of Constellation, and through them you will do a lot. So as far as good things about this faction go, obviously they introduce you to other parts of the settled systems and all the other factions, so it's not like you can avoid doing them. Major strengths for this faction being that through these missions, through the Into the Unknown mission specifically, and then further ones that you can get from Vladimir, you can unlock your Starborn Powers and gain all of those, so that is useful. There are lots of followers in this faction, more than any other faction, I would say, at least for unique followers. So you can get the Robit and Barrett and Sarah Morgan and Samco and Andreja. All of them work as ship crew and as companions on planets, and 4 of them, that being Barrett, Sarah, Sam, and Andreja, can all be romanceable. So, you know, as far as factions go, they definitely offer the most in companions. There are 18 missions to this storyline, which makes sense considering it's the main storyline in the game, but it is the most out of any faction. You can get a lot of XP and a lot of credits from these missions. Obviously, each mission will have something around, you know, like 6, 7, 800 XP. A lot of them will have credits, some of them like 12,000 credits, some of them are going to be, you know, less. You'll get unique parts, you'll get a Constellation spacesuit, and then you'll get, throughout the rest of the storyline, one piece at a time, you'll get the calibrated Constellation spacesuit, so that's pretty good stuff that you can get, and it's unique to them. And aside from that, there are quite a few missions that will have you doing a lot of combat, and so you can gain a lot of XP through killing people and a lot of gold from or credits from selling all their loot. So you can gain a lot by doing the storyline. The first con I have for Constellation, other than the first con in their name, is that it's kind of boring, especially after you've done it a couple times. I think the Constellation storyline holds up the least well out of all of the factions. The good thing is that when you do New Game Plus, you can actually opt to skip through the main storyline. So right when you get to New Atlantis and enter the lodge on your New Game Plus playthrough, you can actually just skip it. And after the first 3 times of playing through it, I was like, I don't really want to play this storyline anymore. So I just skip it now, and I think it honestly was a good option for that to be included, to just take the Starborn route then. But yeah, so I think it's kind of boring, and like I've said before, another con is really this faction doesn't stand on its own. It's more of just an introduction to the other factions, which I find all of them to be more interesting. So for all those reasons, Constellation takes the number 5 spot. Let's move on to number 4. Coming in at number 4, we have Ryujin Industries. So this one, I like it, and I still ranked it relatively low, so that should be a good sign that I actually find the faction quests to be fairly entertaining. In fact, I would say I might like them. No, I definitely like them more than Fallout 4. They're pretty close to being on par with Skyrim. Maybe not quite as good, but I also like the setting of Skyrim a lot more, so, you know, gotta take that with a grain of salt. But Ryujin Industries is unique. So, starting off, it has 13 missions, so it's more than all the other factions except for Constellation. That being said, several of the missions, especially like the first several, are pretty short, non-detailed missions. A lot of them boil down to nothing more than a fetch quest. So it kind of balances out because they don't start getting more long and interesting until about halfway through the storyline anyway. One of the strengths that Ryujin has going for it is that it does feel a lot more unique than the other factions. So there are basically what most people would consider 2 good good factions and 2 bad factions, like good and bad morally speaking, and Ryujin falls under the bad category because you're doing stuff that's a little bit more underhanded. You're not an all-out space pirate like you would be with the Crimson Fleet, but you are sneaking into places, doing corporate sabotage, that type of stuff, and espionage. So it definitely has that aspect to it. I enjoy it. I find it to be very fun, and like I said, it's very unique in Starfield, where most of the stories all seem to revolve around a rather straight-edged, kind of space nerd, science, Federation wannabe type character, which is not the way I like to play the game. So for that reason alone, I definitely like Ryujin. For stuff that you can get out of it, one of the more unique things you can get is the Operative Suit and the Operative Helmet. You'll get those through mission rewards. I like them. I find them to be cool looking and just good pieces of equipment to have. You do, at the end of it, your ultimate reward for this one, like all of these storylines will have an ultimate reward. The ultimate reward for Ryujin is a Ryujin Industries Office, which doubles as both a home and workplace, and the recurring missions you can do again after Ryujin have decent rewards. So amongst the best as far as the recurring missions that you can get from different factions, so you can actually make a lot of credits with them, and you can do that, you know, through your home office thing here on Neon. Other than that, you will just get lots of gear and credits and stuff throughout the missions in here, and that's not to even highlight all of the unique weapons and armor that you can get through this mission if you decide to do a little bit of extracurricular loot gathering. Other than that, like I said, their biggest strength is just that it's a unique story and gameplay compared to the rest of the game. So I like Ryujin, but they're not the most standout, and a lot of the missions are pretty samey and repetitive, so I put them down lower at number 4. But that's number 4. Let's move on to number 3. Coming in right in the middle at our number 3 spot, we have the UC Vanguard, which is kind of like their volunteer militia navy, which is an interesting concept for a futuristic space organization like the UC, but I actually like it. I think it's unique, and it's a smart way to try and get, like, from a narrative perspective, to get you into their military. So I actually quite like it from a narrative perspective. As far as this one goes, I would say it's a very fun storyline. It's extremely well fleshed out and does a ton to build up the lore for the world of Starfield, probably better than any other faction in the game. So that's a serious strength for this one. Another one is you can get a lot of really good rewards from this storyline, including my favorite suit of armor, or one of my favorite suits of armor in the game, which is the UC Anti-Xeno armor. And so just some of the other, I've got a list of the most notable rewards that you can get from the UC Vanguard storyline. You'll get a UC Vanguard spacesuit, a calibrated UC Vanguard space helmet, UC Vanguard pilot pack. Relatively early in the playthrough, or in the storyline, you'll get UC citizenship, which will give you a discount and allow you to build a house, or to buy a house in the Well on New Atlantis if you want. I wouldn't, though. I would hold off on that. You also can then get the optional things that I really like during the hostile intelligence mission. There's an optional objective to go grab some gear. Definitely don't skip it because it's good gear. You can go grab the UC Anti-Xeno spacesuit, space helmet, and power pack, which are, like I said, they make up one of my absolute favorite suits of armor in this game, and they have really good stats and look really cool and everything. And you can also grab the X989 micro gun, so a heavy weapon that is also really, really good. So those are missable, so if you skip that optional objective, you will miss those entirely, so definitely don't do that. But there's some of the best stuff in the game. Later on, once you've completed the storyline, you'll get Class 1 citizenship in the storyline, which makes you a higher class of citizen, so you'll have even more of a discount at all of the UC vendors, and you will be rewarded with a penthouse apartment in New Atlantis. That's why I said don't buy the one that you can get in the Well, because the penthouse is better and more convenient anyway. Plus then you'll get it for free, so it's kind of a no-brainer not to waste money early on. And finally, you will be able to recruit Hadrian as a companion after this, after joining the UC Vanguard, and he is a good companion. So lots of good rewards for the Vanguard. Like I said, being the UC citizen helps you get cheaper gear and a penthouse right on New Atlantis, and since, I mean, I don't know about you, but I personally spend a lot of time on New Atlantis, that comes in handy. The missions, for the most part, are pretty combat-oriented, so they are fun, and you can also gain a lot of XP and credits from selling gear from the different types of animals and people that you'll be killing. The only con I have for the Vanguard is that it's actually a pretty short storyline. So even though the missions have a lot of body to them and they're not just fetch quests, there are only 9 of them, I believe, and so they go by pretty quickly. And it's possible that that's just a testament to how fun this storyline is, but it feels like you just start the Vanguard and then you're done, and your only option is a couple different people who will give you Radiant quests from now on. But other than that, I really like the Vanguard. There's a reason they take the number 3 spot. Like I said, you get a lot of good rewards and the story is great. And like I said, I think out of all the factions, they probably do the most to build up the lore and explain it in the world of Starfield. So I really like them, but they take the number 3 spot. Let's move on to number 2. Coming in at our number 2 spot, we have, of course, the Crimson Fleet. Now, this one was close. I almost put this one at number 1 because I really, really enjoyed this storyline. And as far as mission rewards go, it is probably the all-around best one in the entire game. So as far as the Crimson Fleet goes, there are a lot of ways to join it. I haven't discovered them all. I know that you can either... Typically, I haven't found a way to directly approach the fleet and join them. If anyone knows of one, I would love to hear about that down in the comment section. But basically, you approach them through the UC SysDef force. And you can either do that when you're introduced to Vanguard, you'll be told about it, and then you can go find them. Or when you first commit a crime on New Atlantis and get arrested for it, you will immediately be brought to the SysDef ship and then given a quote-unquote choice to either go to prison or join them and secretly infiltrate the Crimson Fleet. Another advantage of joining the Crimson Fleet is that the Key, which is their headquarters, is an excellent location to sell stuff for credits. A, you can sell all your stolen stuff there, but B, it also just has a whole bunch of stores all right next to each other that you can sell your general loot to, which makes it considerably easy to offload after running through an outpost and clearing it and, you know, getting all that gear and stuff that you want to sell. You can take it to one spot where the traders are all right next to each other and you can quickly sell it. In that way, it works a lot like the Thieves Guild did in Skyrim, which is why I like that storyline so much. So it makes sense that I would like this one as much as I do. In addition to that, some of the best unique weapons in this game are rewards in this storyline. Early on, after the first mission, or the first real mission you'll do for the fleet, you'll be rewarded with the Keel Hauler, which is a really, really good, I believe it's a Mag Pulse, I think is what it's called. It's the Mag pistol. And it's ridiculously good, super powerful. It's, like I said, one of the best weapons in the game. Then way at the end of the storyline for the Crimson Fleet, in Legacy's End, you'll be able to get your hands on the Revenant, which is a Mag rifle. And it is similar. It's a unique legendary weapon that is ridiculously good, one of the best in the entire game. And so both of those weapons are only Crimson Fleet weapons. You can't get them any other way, and they're both really, really good. So no other faction, as far as I know, gives you 2 unique legendary guns like the Crimson Fleet storyline does. Another huge thing about this one is, at the end of the Crimson Fleet storyline, 250,000 credits. It's the single largest credit gain that you can get from any storyline or mission in the entire game. The, I guess, downside of this one is there's only 8-ish missions. I should say common because there are optional missions you can do, and so, you know, there may be more or less depending on how you play through the storyline, but I find that common missions for the Crimson Fleet playthrough for most people is going to be about 8. That being said, these missions are some of the longest and most complex missions in the entire game and offer the most outcomes. Like, you can really approach most of them very, very differently. So I really, really enjoy the Crimson Fleet storyline. I think the rewards are excellent and it's just a lot of fun to play. So for all those reasons, like I said, the Crimson Fleet almost took the number 1 spot, but I didn't end up putting it there, and it does solidly take the number 2 spot. So that's it for number 2. Let's move on to number 1. And finally, in number 1, we have the Freestar Rangers, so the police force of the Freestar Collective, located or centered on Aquila in Aquila City. So very unique naming conventions there. This one is my personal favorite. Now, like I said, it was close between the Crimson Fleet and the Freestar Rangers, and honestly, I really like... I'm just gonna start listing them all. I do like all the factions, except for, like I said, Constellation. After the first time, is not that interesting. All the rest of them are fairly replayable, but the Freestar Rangers have a lot going for them. For one thing, you get this, like, space cowboy vibe to it, where the Freestar Collective has a lot less order and law and structure than the UC does, so it kind of feels like you're playing in that Wild West setting, which I just genuinely enjoy. It's a lot of fun to do that. So I like being a space cowboy. One of the main things I really like about the Freestar Rangers storyline is that you can choose how diplomatic or how much of a gunslinger you want to be in most of these missions. The vast majority of the missions, I mean, starting off with the very first one where it's a bank robbery, that you can either talk them down if your skills are high enough and if you are so inclined, or sneak around back, get inside and blast them all with your revolver. Like, you could take that type of approach for pretty much every mission in this storyline, and I really like that for roleplay reasons. So the story itself is just a lot of fun, and in that vein, most of the missions are going to have lots of combat, at least optional. There are quite a few of them where you can avoid combat entirely, but you don't need to, and so if you like the shoot 'em up missions like I do, and you like obviously having that advantage, or that ability to get all that extra XP and get all that loot so you can either upgrade your own loot or gear, I should say, or sell it all for tons of credits, that option is there with the UC, or not the UC, the Freestar Rangers storyline, and I really, really like that. Like I've already said, the story is super interesting too, so you have a it's maybe not as good as the Vanguard storyline, but it is still interesting, builds a lot of the background world building, especially more to do with the UC, or I keep saying UC, the Freestar Collective, and in that vein helps build up the world lore, and it's also fun if you already did the Vanguard, because now you have that side of the story, and now you're getting the Freestar Rangers side of it with this one, so that's interesting, and you have to deal with corruption, and backstabbing, and revenge, and mercenary groups, and all sorts of stuff. It's fun. I genuinely like it. The ultimate reward for the Freestar Rangers, so like I said, for Ryujin, it's that Ryujin office that you can get. For the Vanguard, it's your citizenship and your big fancy apartment in the sky on New Atlantis. For the Crimson Fleet, it's that 250,000 credit reward. For the Freestar Rangers, it is a ship, and it is the Star Eagle, which is one of, if not the best Class A ships that you can get in the game, and you get it for free. You want to upgrade it, you can pop in like a slightly better, I think it might already come with the best shield generator for that class, but you can pop on some more weapons or whatever, and you can make it a truly really good ship. It's got a lot of fighter vibes to it, so I find it's very fun to use in combat. It can be upgraded, you know, like I said, you can make it better without totally changing the ship that it is, but it is so good when you get it that you don't need to if you don't want to. And this is great for playstyles if you're not planning on speccing a bunch of points into ship combat and stuff like that, so you're never going to have a Class C ship. This is really good because it's a really good Class A ship. So for all of those reasons, I really like it. The only con about the Freestar Rangers storyline is I think it's the shortest one out of all of them. It's, as far as I know, there are only 7 main missions for this one. There's more optional side stuff that you can do with it to kind of stretch it out, and obviously there's endless recurring Radiant ones that you can use through the Freestar Rangers mission board. But as far as I know, there are only 7 normal main missions in this storyline, so it's not very long. That's the only con, though. The rest of it is all fantastic, and I absolutely love playing as a Freestar Ranger because I just love being a space cowboy. So that, in summary, is all 5 of our best factions in Starfield, or the 5 joinable factions ranked, whatever the better naming convention for this video is. I hope you enjoyed this video and found it entertaining or interesting. If you've got a different ranking, or you think that any of the reasons that I listed for the spots that I ranked them in are bad ones, why don't you let me know down in the comment section below. But in any case, thanks a ton for watching, and have a nice day, and we'll see you next time. Thanks for watching another Dare to Game video. If you liked this video, please leave a like and a comment. If you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to the channel. If you like my content and would like to support this channel, consider becoming a member today for as little as $1.99 a month. It makes a huge difference. But in any case, thanks for watching, and have a nice day. I'll see you next time.